Is YouTube linked to the... Hmm. Anyway, I don't... What are we making this one about? I don't ask for money for good reason. Life is too short. That also means that algorithm-wise, or whatever this like and subscribe feature is, let me make sure this is working. Go on. Okay. Is I'm not too popular, no matter what I do, right? But like it's also important to distinguish that what is true at certain points in our life, dare I say all points of our life, supersedes, comes before, more important than money. Okay? So this, I'm not trying to, I don't, I have in the past, don't get me wrong, like I streamed Fortnite and I've streamed CSGO, Valorant, that project started. When did I start doing all that? Like 19? I think I've even started when Twitch was early in like 2016 or something. But if I may give myself some grace, it's been just a learning process of being like, how does my country work? What do I want? And what's actually going on? In that time, it's become pretty obvious to me that the reason countries like the one that I'm living in, America, um, are deteriorating. Well, I say deteriorating. Let me step back. The reason it is becoming more draconian is because that's exactly how whatever people want to label the system as capitalism or slavery or whatever, that's exactly what it was designed to do. And it's important people get a bearing on where they are in this chessboard. You know what I'm saying? So me on this chessboard, I am essentially broadcasting to everybody I hate on the internet right now. I don't mean people. I mean institutions like the CIA, FBI, pretty much what is known as the deep state. Any institution that cannot be held accountable by the same standards they are holding others accountable. And at a certain point you would get, as a viewer, if there are any at any point in time, you might go like, okay, why is he doing that? Well, let me tell you what the people we hate are doing, or excuse me, let me tell you what the people that we are being taught to hate are doing. The, so to speak, communists are trying to find a what they call a weapon in order to finally defeat this tyrannical structure that is a small set of privileged white people having control over everything, right? Let me tell you what the underneath, the underground is trying to construct in terms of a weapon. It's not a weapon. It's just a set of ideas that say, how do we make sure this never happens again? Like as a human species, when you go, okay, what we're doing has the chance to wipe us all out. And you guys know that, right? Like you as in like the people I hate, these institutions that are trying to turn me into an enemy for whatever reason. Or whether it be just someone who's trying to get a grip on what's going on. You go like, why would someone make the really silly error of just being like, "Hey, come slice my head off if you need to, ladies and gentlemen." Um, well, because you have to be willing to look past the right now. Whether, like I said, I started doing this like what, 10 years ago? Life moves on with or without your mortal body. You know what I'm saying? So many people just get scared of imagining what it is like to die. And it's almost like that is part of this experiment that keeps so many shackled from actually doing anything. It's like we don't have the ability to transcend the idea that we're just human stuff. Like at the end of the day, a mortar could just fall on me in the same way it could fall on any given Gazan, right? I could just be over there. So it's just like, you really have. I could also be in the position of Jeff Bezos if I really wanted to be. But notice those people. Notice the people that people aspire to be. Like how many of us want to be Jeff or Elon or Zuckerberg or any one of these atrociously rich people simply because of they simply because they want what comes with. Yet they don't understand when they start reaching for something like that. When they actually have control over that amount of stuff, they're gone. Like them as in the traditional sense of who they were, what they were about, what they're now going to do. This person has become completely taken over by money. Now, that statement is as true as it is at the top, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, whatever's, as it is to the people that it's being crushed all the way down on the bottom. The edge cases of people getting bombed, genocide amputees, or really what James Baldwin decided to define as this American empire is completely built upon the caste system that is oppressing non-whites. And what stands to really blow this country up is a civil war of race-based violence. Yep, it's scary. And I didn't predict that. I'm not just making this up. Some guy who was like, I gotta get out of here in the 60s, quite literally got out of here, went over to France and started talking about the life he lived over here. And I was getting ready to move away. I was getting ready to be like, okay, I don't seem to be in a position on this chessboard that says I can do shit about Cheyenne with respect to my own future, with respect to my environment. And then I realized, that's a lie. Because at a certain point, when you simply realize that, again, this is just, I'm mostly carbon and water and some minerals, right? We all die. And when I look at how people live their lives now, you're like, you're telling me you're willing to live your life in this system of diluted slavery, then really just, let's just use the Saw analogy. Then really just in this Saw movie, come at the beginning of the movie with everyone else and just take a little bit of pain. Like if we all just took a little bit of pain together, we would all be living like the fucking Jetsons. But instead, we are so captivated by the idea of whatever hierarchy that we think we should be subscribing to, we prefer this system of enslavement. Now, when one really considers the power of such a scenario, like, why is it that no, we as a human species I thought I shut the door. But we as a human species begin to consider such a scenario. Um, why does it feel like we've never climbed out of it, right? Well, we have. One needs to understand that deep time goes back a ways. I think conservative estimates put the human race at 250,000 years old. And when you start thinking about the systems of enslavement that keep us all down right now, we're a blip of an eye in human history. And within this blip of an eye, call American history 250 years, or call since the Roman Empire 2,000 some odd years, right? But within the context of humanity and where we are at today, we stand a real risk of simply wiping out humanity as we know it because of what we're doing today. And that's not doomsaying. Everybody, okay, that's not doomsaying. That's simply a matter of interpreting the environment as it lays in front of them. Okay. Now, again, if I may just say for like a third or fourth time, why am I broadcasting this to someone as I would perceive as my enemies? Well, because in order to make someone your friend, or excuse me, defeat your enemies, you gotta make them your friend, right? And although I do not intend on actually being friends on people who have tried to enslave me my entire life, if I may get you to reroute your attention on things that might not affect you, which, granted, you might not have the ability to do at this point yet, but there are other systems of thinking other than jihad that can get you what you want without blowing everything up, you know? And we like to believe in this ridiculous idea that unless we are doing the Lord's work, right, we can't really find the motivation at all, it seems. And I just need the people who are like have the most control, I think, to understand that the weapon the communists are trying to build is simply a repossession of the language itself. It's like all I can do is find people on the internet or in my daily life who want to approach the situation from a left or a right angle. Red versus blue, up versus down, us versus them. And then that's the magic key, isn't it? Like that's chemical X. To simply start transforming this us versus them paradigm into everyone. So to say the language, and that very idea is to stop using language that says us versus them and start using language that it is everyone. What did I just say? Like it's simply a matter of giving yourself perspective. And I find that truly hilarious, this advice from the oppressed to the oppressor finally comes about in one of the most restrictive environments simply because the forces of constriction keep constricting, you know? And it's like the the people who are making everything worse on purpose, right? That's just a small set of people telling their minions and goons what to do. It's like they too cannot see a strategy with which to work with the very people that they are oppressing and move forward, because I think they are too genuinely scared of the consequences of acquiescing power to someone else. And I would be too. I mean, look at what they've done to some people, dude. Like, the native, I'm talking about like the Native Americans. That's the problem. Like, this, we gotta retake the language. Like, these aren't Native Americans. They're simply indigenous people who had their land taken from them. Those aren't African Americans. Those are simply back people from Africa who were kidnapped. you know, and it's like that's what we're talking about. It's not us versus them anymore. It's simply what happened. You know, and that's where we're at today. Unfortunately, so many people are, because the caste system is just that harsh. They're so wrapped up in their notions of this is what I think I need to do to survive. When in actuality, it is simply just exiting the matrix. And the matrix, in this sense, is like there are different ways you can leave the matrix. You don't gotta be as extreme as me and be like, you know what? All taxes are bad if they lead to genocide. What you can do, especially if you are white, is simply fit in a few words edgewise. Simply say, hey, I am white, and send a letter to your boss that says, look, I feel like this system is predicated upon oppressing non whites, and that the reason I have my privilege is because I am white. But how many people just went deaf, as soon as I said that? Like, and that's again, this is well covered, well documented. But that feeling that you're feeling now is called white fragility. This feeling that you need to reestablish this equilibrium because your worldview has been challenged. And it's like the moment you have the ability to separate your worldview from the very concept of you, you've regained the identity that so many are actually seeking, Not to actually admit that the self doesn't exist, but anyway. Again, I don't know what it takes for the people who keep choking to really come to the understanding that the more you keep choking us, the more you keep choking yourself. You know what I'm saying? And whether it's like the very burning of the environment itself, whether it's cranking up the environment's temperature to the point where fucking cat to the point where it's no longer inhabitable for humans. You have to be willing to admit to yourself that why is it that the harder I try to hold on into something, the farther and farther away it gets? Now that logic should apply to everyone, right? Like oppressed and oppressor are like. But anyway, you already have the tools, as you already know. You as in this shadow network, this cabal that has infinite resources to do everything. Allow me to give you some imagination, because that is clearly what you are lacking at this point. Imagine, if you will, what if you simply transitioned the perspective of the people towards truth? And I mean that. Like, you know how, and I, and again, you as in the institutions, you know how most of these fucking people you are making are stupid. Like, we're gonna go to my first Substack post, and I'm not trying to sit here on these Twitch and YouTube to justify my Substack. I wrote this June 15th, and I'm only gonna pull up a paragraph if I can find the one about zombies. Basically, on the day before, and like even a month beforehand when the fight was announced on UFC. This is the one where they fought on the White House lawn itself, like celebrity deathmatch style. Uh, I predicted who was going to win. And the reason I did that was because it was just so obvious to me how this country was using the narrative of these sports to bring about its very downfall. And for, I guess, a case in point would be gambling sites that allow people to quite literally spend money to predict what's going to happen. I don't have the numbers, but everybody thought Tapuria was going to win, right? This guy was crushing. My cat is something else right now. Am I talking loud? This is my normal talking voice. I've been talking like this the whole time. Nope. I think that, yep. Anyway, I comment on this specific post on the behaviors of the audience. I remember watching one video where the people quite literally broke the foot traffic barriers, like they were climbing over them, they were pushing to the side, yada yada. But the moment they broke them, I shit you not, and you guys saw it, like The Walking Dead, like the people who finally broke the foot traffic, you know, they had the posture, they have the movement speed, they had the behaviors down to however you fucking guys did it. Like, it was, you guys made the White Walkers. You did it. Like, and if you are effectively this winter from the Game of Thrones that can produce zombies whenever you would like, what can you do if you simply begin to tilt American perspective to somewhere, I don't know, towards truth and justice instead of barbaric cage fights? So, like, again, I don't know if that's me inserting imagination or if that's me just being like, you guys know you have the ability just to, like, look down, right? And I don't know. It just seems absurd at a certain point where you're going like, do you guys understand how much it's taking for you to keep controlling everyone right now? Like, the more you keep squeezing us, the more you keep squeezing yourself. And it's just like, do you really not have the ability to, do you not need to breathe anymore? You know? So I guess that's where I'm coming from. Like, the reason I'm so willing to broadcast this to the actual deep state, the people who are like, you know, can't be held accountable for their crimes in the past. What if you just, like, I don't know, lifted everyone up for the first time in what may be human history? Could you, I don't know, imagine where we would all be at? Maybe that's it. Maybe you can't.